Friends, today's day 6 of our 12 Days of Homemade Christmas Challenge, and today we are going to be making beeswax bowl covers. These beeswax bowl covers make a fantastic gift, and they could not be easier to make. When we're done, they'll be able to be used in place of plastic wrap to cover bowls, to put them in the fridge and things like that. These are wonderful, and you reuse them over and over and over again. And another great thing about these is over time, if some of the beeswax wears off and they don't work as well, you can just do this process over again, and you can kind of reseal them and keep going with them over and over and over again, which makes these a fantastic reusable product. These are a great gift for anyone with a kitchen, which is most people. Another really wonderful thing is you can customize these. I just am using fat quarters. You want to use 100% cotton, and I'm just using these fat quarters I found at Joann's. And the cool thing about it is you just get whatever crazy kooky fat quarter you find that looks like the person you're gifting for, or if you want to match them to your kitchen and make them for yourself, go for it. So we're gonna make 2 today, and you do not have to do this part. I'm gonna cut mine with pinking shears to make them last a little longer. You can fold the edges over and sew the edges so they don't come unraveled, but I'm gonna cut the edges with these pinking shears to keep them from fraying a little bit. Now, you can measure bowl sizes and you can cut these to fit various bowl sizes. I'm gonna do mine large just to make sure that they'll fit kind of whatever. And I am just cutting that very edge off on all sides with these pinking shears. Now, if you're unfamiliar with pinking shears are a scissor that have this kind of little jagged edge. These were actually my grandma's pinking shears, and they cut kind of a jagged edge on the edge, and they keep this from fraying as easily. Now, the other thing you want to make sure that you're doing before you do anything with this fabric is you want to go ahead and wash it and dry it, especially since we're going to heat it up and put wax on it. You just want to make sure that those dyes are really good and set in, because you might have some bleeding if you don't. So these have been washed and they have been dried. All right, the cutting is all done. So now I have 2 of these beeswax wraps that I'm gonna make today. And I'm gonna go ahead and fold these up small enough so they can fit in my container I'm gonna melt the wax in, because I'm gonna dip it down in there. Yeah, that'll fit. So if you're melting wax, you can melt wax in a lot of different ways. You can melt it in the microwave, in a glass bowl, and just stir it quite often. You can melt it in a double broiler. I'm gonna use this little melter that we just happen to have already. The ingredients for this are incredibly simple. There's just 3 ingredients. You've got your beeswax, you have your jojoba oil, which adds kind of a softness to it, and then you have pine resin. I have pine resin powder. What the pine resin is going to do is the pine resin is going to add a tackiness to it. So when you stick the bowl cover over the bowl, it kind of attaches to the bowl. So that's not 100% necessary, but if you don't have the pine resin, you're gonna have to wrap it with a rubber band or something when you put it over the bowl. The pine resin just lets you, it clings like that cling wrap. And for this, I'm just gonna use 1/3 cup of beeswax pellets and 1 tablespoon of jojoba oil. And I'm gonna let those melt in my melting pot. This pine resin powder that I have in here, we're gonna save this for once we have them on the tray. Now, while you're waiting for this to melt, you wanna make sure you have baking trays with parchment paper on them, because we're gonna pull the waxed fabric straight out of here and lay it on here so it doesn't make a mess. Okay, now that our beeswax mixture is completely melted, we're gonna take these and we're gonna dip them down into this beeswax mixture. This isn't an exact science, but you want to get it covered all the way, right? And have it in here for enough time for the fabric to absorb some of that beeswax. Maybe even flip it around. And then you're going to unfold it and you're gonna have the wrong side up because we're gonna sprinkle the pine resin on the back side of this. So you're gonna have wrong side up here. And I can already tell there's some spots that didn't get submerged completely. So I'm gonna do this kind of again with those folded to the outside. And your fingers will get a little waxy, but that's okay. Make sure all of it gets sufficiently coated. All right, now I'm gonna take, while this is still wet, I'm gonna take this pine resin powder and I'm just gonna sprinkle it all around the top of it. Nice even coating. This is what's gonna give it the tacky edge, okay? And you just wanna make sure it's spread nice and evenly over the top of that beeswax coating. And I'm gonna do my other one. Now, once that's done, that's really all there is to the process part of it. We're gonna stick them into the oven and let them sit at 250 for about 5 minutes, but you wanna keep an eye on them. This is just gonna help the wax melt a little and set into the fabric. So we're gonna do that, and then I'll see you back here. All right, now that it's out of the oven, all the beeswax has been melted into the fabric. I'm gonna peel it up. It's cooled just a minute. And I'm gonna lay it over a chair or something and let it cool. And then I'll see you back here when it's cooled completely. And these don't take long at all to cool. It's already cooled completely. And part of the way you can tell that it has enough beeswax on it is it's gonna be real stiff. And if you fold it, it can stand up on its own. These make great gifts. You're gonna just lay them down over the bowl, and if you use the warmth of your hands to kind of stick them down, they stick around the edges and seal that bowl. You can put it in the fridge, and this acts just like saran wrap would to protect it from the elements. Now, care instructions for these, and if you're giving them as a gift, you want to give them with care instructions. You wash them with cold water. And the reason for that, obviously, is if they get hot, the beeswax is gonna melt off, and you don't want that to happen. So rinse with cold water and set to the side, and you can reuse these over and over and over again. And if they lose their beeswax coating, then you can just run through this process again. These really are a fantastic gift for the person who loves to do things in the kitchen. And like I said, you can personalize them. There's so many different fabrics available. You can just, the sky's the limit as to what you can do as far as making a cute little kit to give somebody. So anyway, there is day 6. It's these beeswax bowl wraps. So hope you enjoyed this and hope you are sticking with us through our 12 days of homemade Christmas. Thank you so much for joining us.